Right now, before doubt organizes its excuses, before the mind reaches for old limitations, understand this with absolute clarity. An unbreakable positive mental attitude is not something you wait for, grow into, or stumble upon. It is a line you draw within yourself. From this moment forward, you are no longer negotiating with fear, circumstance, or mood. You are choosing who you become under pressure. What follows is not motivation meant to fade, but a mental position designed to hold when everything else shakes. Stay with this, because the way you think after this point will never be the same. An unbreakable positive mental attitude begins with accepting a hard truth. Your thoughts are not reactions, they are positions. Most people believe positivity is about feeling good, but that belief is exactly why their mindset breaks the moment pressure appears. True positivity is not emotional, it is strategic. It is the conscious choice to direct attention, interpretation, and meaning regardless of what unfolds externally. When you understand this, you stop chasing motivation and start practicing mental leadership. You no longer ask, "How do I feel today?" You ask, "How will I respond today?" That single shift quietly moves you from victimhood into authority over your own mind. An unbreakable mindset is built by first removing the fantasy that life will become calm. It won't, and it doesn't need to. Strength is not born in stillness, it is refined in resistance. When you stop expecting ease, you stop being surprised by difficulty, and when difficulty no longer surprises you, it loses its power to destabilize you. This is not pessimism, it is preparedness. Prepared minds don't panic, they adapt. They interpret obstacles as training instead of punishment. Once this lens locks in, every challenge becomes evidence that you are being shaped, not singled out. Most people sabotage their own positivity by tying it to outcomes. They feel positive if things go well, if others approve, if results arrive on time. An unbreakable positive mental attitude cuts that dependency completely. It is rooted in identity, not results. You begin to see yourself as someone who remains steady, thoughtful, and forward-moving regardless of short-term fluctuations. This internal stability is what creates long-term success. When your attitude is no longer hostage to circumstances, you stop leaking energy through frustration, comparison, and emotional reactivity. That saved energy becomes focus, clarity, and momentum. The earliest sign that your mindset is strengthening is not constant happiness. It is delayed reaction. You pause where you used to explode. You observe where you used to assume. You choose where you used to spiral. This pause is powerful. It is the space where growth lives. Inside it, you regain authorship over your narrative. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What is this teaching me?" That question alone rewires perception. It transforms setbacks into feedback and adversity into instruction, allowing positivity to emerge as a practiced discipline rather than a fragile mood. Anchor this deeply. An unbreakable positive mental attitude starts the moment you stop outsourcing your inner state to the outside world. No person, event, delay, or disappointment gets to decide who you are internally unless you grant permission. This is about ownership, quiet, firm, non-negotiable ownership of your mental direction. Once this decision is made, everything else becomes training, not threat. Once the decision is made, the next phase is discipline. Because a positive mental attitude that isn't trained will always collapse under stress. Your mind, left unmanaged, defaults to patterns it learned during fear, scarcity, and survival. That means negativity is not a failure of character. It is a lack of structure. Mental discipline is the practice of noticing thoughts without surrendering to them. You stop assuming that every thought deserves belief. Instead, you treat the mind like a powerful tool that must be directed, not obeyed. The strongest minds are not the ones with fewer negative thoughts. They are the ones that interrupt them faster. Discipline is built in the gap between stimulus and response. When something goes wrong, the untrained mind reacts instantly with blame, fear, or self-doubt. A disciplined mind pauses, assesses, and reframes. It asks whether a thought is useful before asking whether it is true, because usefulness determines direction. A thought that weakens you, no matter how accurate it feels, has no place in a mind you are training for strength. Repetition is the mechanism of control. Just as muscles grow through resistance, mental strength develops through repeated redirection. Every time you replace a destructive interpretation with a constructive one, you reinforce a neural pathway. At first, this feels unnatural and forced, and that discomfort is proof of change. Over time, what once required effort becomes automatic. This is how optimism becomes resilient instead of naive. You are not denying reality, you are selecting meaning, and meaning determines behavior far more than facts ever will. Mental discipline also requires intentional input. You cannot consume chaos and expect clarity. The mind mirrors what it repeatedly absorbs. If your environment feeds comparison, outrage, or hopelessness, your thoughts will reflect that diet. Developing an unbreakable positive mental attitude means guarding what enters your awareness. This includes conversations you entertain, content you consume, and even the tone you use when speaking to yourself. Discipline is not restriction, it is protection. Self-talk is the arena where discipline is most visible. The voice you hear internally during pressure becomes the blueprint for your future responses. A disciplined mind replaces harsh, internal criticism with firm, corrective guidance. Not indulgent positivity, but grounded reassurance. Instead of "I'm failing," you learn to say, "I'm learning under pressure." Instead of "I can't handle this," you say, "I am adapting in real time." These statements are not affirmations, they are commands, and the mind learns to comply with what it is consistently commanded to do. Mental discipline is not about suppressing negativity, it is about mastering attention. What you focus on grows, what you repeatedly redirect loses power. Every moment you choose calm over chaos, clarity over panic, intention over impulse, you are forging a mindset that does not fracture under pressure. Emotional resilience is what separates surface-level positivity from an unbreakable mental attitude. Emotions are signals, not commands. They are information, not identity. When you learn this distinction, you stop being dragged by every emotional wave. You allow yourself to feel without allowing feelings to steer your behavior. You don't suppress emotion, and you don't surrender to it. You observe it, process it, and move forward with intention intact. An unbreakable positive mindset does not mean you avoid pain, it means you don't live inside it. Pain becomes an experience, not a residence. You feel disappointment without turning it into hopelessness. You feel sadness without turning it into self-rejection. This ability to separate momentary emotion from permanent identity is one of the most powerful psychological skills you can develop. Pressure reveals the true quality of your mindset. When criticized, rejected, or misunderstood, the untrained mind collapses inward. The resilient mind asks what can be extracted instead of how to defend itself. This response preserves dignity and momentum. You learn to accept feedback without absorbing insult, and to stand steady even when others project instability onto you. Positivity here is not soft, it is grounded self-respect. Emotional resilience is strengthened through controlled exposure. Avoidance weakens the nervous system, engagement strengthens it. By gradually facing discomfort, you teach your system that pressure is survivable. Over time, what once triggered anxiety becomes neutral. Calm becomes your default, not because life improved, but because your tolerance expanded. You also learn emotional boundaries. You stop internalizing emotions that don't belong to you. Other people's frustration, fear, or negativity no longer becomes your responsibility. You remain compassionate without becoming drained, kind without becoming weak. This balance protects positivity from contamination. Emotions pass, but character remains. When you stop letting temporary feelings rewrite permanent beliefs, your mindset stabilizes. Emotional resilience does not make you cold, it makes you clear enough to endure storms without identifying as broken. An unbreakable positive mental attitude cannot survive on emotion alone. It must be anchored to meaning gives suffering direction and effort relevance. When you know why you're moving forward, uncertainty loses its power. Purpose becomes the stabilizer that holds your mindset steady even when outcomes are unclear. Purpose does not require certainty about the future. It requires clarity about values. When you know what you stand for, confusion loses power. Decisions become aligned instead of reactive. A mindset rooted in values does not need constant reassurance. It validates itself through action, meaning reframes adversity into preparation. You stop seeing challenges as personal attacks and start seeing them as shaping tools. This belief prevents burnout because you are no longer chasing immediate rewards. You are building long-term capacity. Purpose protects positivity from comparison. When your path is clear, other people's timelines stop distracting you. Their success no longer threatens you, and their opinions no longer define you. You are fulfilling an internal standard, and that standard cannot be taken away. Purpose-driven positivity creates patience. You stop demanding instant results from long-term effort. You trust the process because you trust your direction. The patience is disciplined endurance, and it quietly builds confidence that does not need noise. When positivity is connected to purpose, it stops fluctuating with mood. It becomes steady because it is fueled by intention, not comfort. An unbreakable positive mental attitude is sustained by habit. Habits remove decision fatigue and protect your mindset during low-energy moments. When positivity is built into routine, it no longer depends on willpower. You show up steady even when motivation is absent. Morning structure sets mental direction. Intentional stillness, reflection, or control at the start of the day signals leadership to your nervous system. That leadership stabilizes positivity before external demands arrive. Consistent reflection strengthens awareness. You observe patterns without judgment. Instead of criticizing emotional dips, you study them. This replaces self-blame with self-mastery. Physical habits support mental stability. A regulated body supports calm thinking. When you care for your physical state, positivity becomes easier because resistance decreases. Intentional language shapes perception. The words you repeat reinforce either helplessness or agency. Over time, your vocabulary becomes an environment that supports strength. When positive mental habits are practiced consistently, mindset becomes automatic. You don't force optimism. You default to clarity. The final stage is integration, when everything becomes who you are. Thoughts, emotions, habits, and values align. Strength stops feeling effortful because it has become familiar. Identity anchors permanence. When you see yourself as someone who adapts and persists, setbacks lose their power. You already know you will adjust. Positivity becomes quiet confidence. You don't perform it, you embody it. Your calm under pressure speaks louder than enthusiasm ever could. An unbreakable mindset allows imperfection. You recover faster, you recalibrate and continue. This ability to return to center is what makes strength durable. Difficulty stops feeling personal. You focus on response instead of reaction. Life becomes deliberate instead of reactive. An unbreakable positive mental attitude is calm, consistent, and deeply rooted. You are not protected from hardship, you are prepared for it. And that preparation is what makes your mindset unshakable.